Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating: how modern fiction uses incredible genre tropes to explore the fragmentation of human identity. We're going to look at some of the most compelling narratives in film, television, and anime to see exactly how trauma, radical technology, and obsession completely break down the human mind.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Fractured minds in fiction. 2. Obsession, clones, and magic. 3. Memory, corporations, and lineages. 4. Chrome, trauma, and cyberpsychosis. 5. The psychology of a monster. And finally 6. The cost of transcendence. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Fractured Minds in Fiction, the Anatomy of a Broken Soul.
So, to really set the stage for this explainer, we have to talk about our core concept, fragmentation. Think of it like a giant psychological puzzle, but instead of putting the pieces together, the mind is breaking apart into isolated, often warring pieces. Whether you're a 19th century magician, a futuristic street kid, or a corporate drone, this is what happens when profound trauma, radical technology, or sheer, overwhelming obsession takes the wheel. It's absolutely crucial we keep this in mind, because every single universe looking at today weaponizes this exact concept against its characters. Section 2. Obsession, Clones, and Magic. The physical split in The Prestige.
Now, if you're a fan of Christopher Nolan's film The Prestige, you know there's a massive, ongoing debate about Borden's ultimate trick. Some folks swear by the twin brother theory, that he just used a hidden natural twin. But then there's the clone theory, which argues he actually used Nikola Tesla's machine to create literal, soulless clones. And honestly, the clone theory fits so perfectly with the film's theme of a fractured self. Because think about it, one Borden is empathetic and human, while the clone is this cold, sociopathic entity that his own lover describes as inhuman. It's a literal, physical split of the self.
And this brilliantly illustrates our whole point about fragmentation. To Deet Borden, rival magician Angier makes the ultimate Faustian bargain with Tesla. Every time he performs the trick, he drops his original self into a water tank under the stage, to drown. He is literally killing his own empathy over and over again. He completely destroys his soul and descends into total moral darkness just to win a rivalry. Crazy, right?
Moving right along to Section 3, Memory, Corporations, and Lineages, the Systemic Erasure of the Self.
All right, let's shift gears from Victorian magic to sci-fi, specifically the show Severance. In this world, the mind isn't just broken, it's surgically severed in two. You've got the innie, who is this blank slate corporate worker with zero memories of the outside world, and then there's the outie, the original person who carries all the heavy baggage, the grief and the trauma. The Lumen Corporation essentially treats these innies like isolated data processors. They completely strip away their true humanity. It's a highly engineered, systemic erasure of the self. But why go to all that trouble? Well, there's a wild theory out there tying it back to Lumen's founder, Keir Egan, and his four tempers: woe, frolic, dread, and malice. According to Keir, these are the core components of every human soul. The theory suggests that the workers in macro data refinement aren't just crunching numbers, they're actually sorting Keir's fragmented mind out of a massive data soup to digitally resurrect him. And since the ennies are blank slates, they don't accidentally contaminate his data with their own personalities. Lumen even manipulates them with vintage, weirdly childish rewards like finger traps and waffle parties to channel the spirit of this 19th century CEO right into their minds. Talk about corporate control.
Now, we see a completely different kind of systemic erasure in the German time travel series Dark. Think about the four central families in the show: Doppler, Nielsen, Conwald, and Tiedemann. Thanks to tangled, endlessly looping timelines, these family trees are hopelessly convoluted. It's a total mind-bender. I mean, when your grandfather could literally also be your son, your sense of origin is entirely fractured. Your very existence becomes a walking paradox, and any stable sense of identity is just wiped out. Now, what's really interesting here is how the film Tenet takes this idea and breaks identity through inverted time. We have a temporal pincer movement flowing in two completely opposite directions. The protagonist and his partner Neil experience their profound friendship backwards from one another. For the protagonist, the big battle day is just the start of their partnership. But for Neil, it's the very end of a years-long epic journey. The timeline itself literally fractures their shared reality.
Okay, let's go deeper into the rabbit hole. Section 4, Chrome, Trauma, and Cyberpsychosis, the technological void in Night City.
In the world of Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the destruction of the self has a very specific name: cyberpsychosis. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill medical condition.
It's a syndrome of fragmentation, where mechanical augmentation literally eats away at the nervous system, cranking up aggression and completely destroying empathy. It is the inevitable, terrifying endpoint of living in Night City. It's what happens when desperate people are forced to replace their own flesh with chrome just to survive a brutally unequal society.
And the tragic fall of David Martinez hits the nail right on the head. His descent starts with a massive trauma, the heartbreaking death of his mother, Gloria, who was his absolute anchor in life. To cope, David starts installing early chrome. But he isn't actually trying to just enhance his body. He's running from grief. He's numbing the pain and chasing this illusion of transcendence. By the time he makes his final stand, his humanity is basically gone. He transforms into a towering mechanical weapon for the city's psycho squad, MaxTac, to hunt down, literally burning his own soul to ashes just so the woman he loves, Lucy, can survive.
It's exactly like this idea suggests. When the line between flesh and chrome becomes a temptation rather than a boundary, you're in real trouble. Cyberware promises survival, but it brings the dark shadow of pathology. And honestly, it holds up a mirror to us today. I mean, we stress out about losing a few hours to doom scrolling on our phones, right? Meanwhile, folks in Night City are literally trading your souls for steel wires. It really forces us to ask, what pieces of our own humanity are we quietly sacrificing for the sake of efficiency?
Section 5. The Psychology of a Monster. The Annihilation of the Soul.
Entering the final stage of our escalation here, let's look at the anime monster. Johan Liebert wasn't born a monster. He was forged in the fires of severe trauma. Tracking his origins, it begins at the Red Rose Mansion, where his mother's agonizing choice to give away his twin sister Nina sparks this profound identity confusion. Then he faces total abandonment at the Three Frogs Inn, and finally, he ends up in Kinderheim 511, a horrific orphanage designed to strip away emotion and hone his apathy. He imprints so deeply on his sister's trauma that it creates a psychological reality incredibly similar to dissociative identity disorder. His soul is basically annihilated.
Let's move to the clinical side and see how this builds. When we actually map Johan's behavior against real-world DSM-5 psychopathy traits, the alignment is just chilling. Deceitfulness? The guy shifts identities constantly like it's nothing. Reckless disregard? He orchestrates mass casualty events purely for self-preservation and to test people's limits. Lack of remorse? Absolute, pure emotional callousness. His evil isn't just impulsive violence, it's a meticulously calculated strategy to erase his past and prove that human life means absolutely nothing.
As Nietzsche once said, he who sees too much ends up not fitting in anywhere. And this sets up a brilliant philosophical contrast in the show. Johan weaponizes his nihilism, this core belief that nothing matters, to drag everyone down to their doom. But Dr. Tenma, the hero, understands that same cruel existential reality, yet actively chooses to remain good. Johan's true horror isn't the body count. It's his unbounded, brilliant curiosity that has been completely surgically severed from any capacity to care about another human being.
Finally, Section 6, the cost of transcendence, synthesizing the fractured self.
So, what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at all the mechanisms of fracture we've covered, a clear pattern emerges. We've got physical cloning devoid of a soul in the Prestige. We have engineered dissociation for corporate gain in Severance. We've got erased origins through temporal displacement in Dark and Tenet, the technological erosion of empathy in Cyberpunk, and the absolute psychological weaponization of trauma in Monster. Every single one of these wildly different narratives points to the exact same terrifying thesis. Reaching for ultimate transcendence demands the absolute sacrifice of our humanity.
And this is exactly why this analysis matters to you and me. Look, our identities aren't carved in stone. They are fragile ecosystems. We are built from our memories, our traumas, and our connections with the people around us. If you try to hack the system, if you try to erase the grief or the tempers that cause you pain, you end up erasing the very foundation of what makes you human. You become fragmented.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering question to ponder. When the line between human and machine, between humanity and magic, or between the individual and the corporate system completely dissolves, what remains that's actually worth saving? I want you to look inward and really think about that. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this deep dive leaves you eager to explore these philosophical depths even further. Catch you next time.